finally, Vegeta has achieved Super Saiyan 3, and we're ready for you here in the Geekdom 101 store. Brand new piece of merchandise. The Vegeta, finally, the Prince has achieved the maximum power from Dragon Ball Z, and that is Super Saiyan 3, as he did in episode 12 of Daima. You can pick up this shirt. You can pick it up as a hoodie, as a graphic tee, even as a clock. All kinds of different things and various colors and sizes right now for a limited time. Everything is 25% off, so take advantage. The new Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta merch line, exclusive to the Geekdom 101 merch store. The link is down below. We are back on track. Dragon Ball Daima episode 12 was probably my favorite episode. Episode 13, my least favorite. I thought they kind of, maybe spent too much time on that giant world. It wasn't all that interesting. Now with episode 14 called Taboo, finally things are progressing and the story is progressing, and I'm very happy about that because we've been waiting to see what's going to happen when they go to Demon World 1, because that is, of course, the ultimate goal. And the story has been progressing now. And so this episode, it didn't feel like they were just wasting time stuck in one place. The episode, outside of maybe 2 scenes that were played up for comedy, just for entertainment purposes, this episode successfully continued the story of Daima. At the halfway point of this episode, finally the crew made it to Demon World 1. What are the takeaways from this episode? Well, Gulma has a new task force, and literally task force. He has his own version of the Ginyu Force, the top 5 ranking members of the military police have been called to help protect Demon World 1 from the possible incoming invaders and to help Goma. These guys were literally 5 guys that are meant to be sort of his Ginyu Force. They're 5 guys that are goofy. They're the first time you see them, they're sitting on a couch snacking on food. They're supposed to be funny. They're supposed to be, not very serious, and then when they're introduced, they do the goofy poses. I'll go more into this in the breakdown video, but the Ginyu Force, the Ginyu Tokusentai, is basically Toriyama's parody of Super Sentai, which is what the original Japanese version of Power Rangers is. 5 multicolored heroes fighting enemies. This has been something that's been going on since the 70s, and obviously Toriyama watched Super Sentai when he was younger, and that's where he got the idea for the goofy poses of the Ginyu Force, and of course Great Saiyan Man later on, because Japanese superheroes are very commonly Japanese, you know what I mean? They're not the same as, I would say, Western superheroes. Japanese superheroes are not entirely serious. They do over-the-top poses. I mean, they can be badasses, but not just with Sentai, but also with Kamen Rider, which Gohan and Great Saiyan Man is sort of leaning more into a parody of that. It's just another Easter egg addressing the stuff Toriyama saw as a kid, which is big pop culture stuff in Japan. So these characters are introduced. Obviously, they're meant to be played up as jokes. I know that with Majin Ku, I think some people initially thought he was going to be a serious threat, but he's just a goofy character. These guys are too. This is all being done to sort of build up the big finale coming up, because you're going to have your, just like before they fought Frieza, they had to go through the Ginyu Force. You're going to have your goofy characters before we get to the more serious, battles. And for sure that's coming because they have made it to Demon World 1. By the time you get to the halfway point of this episode, they have broken the barrier. Because what ends up happening is, and it's kind of funny, they go to see Warp, and Warp is asleep, as you remember happened in episode 13. So Goku's like poking at him with the pole, right? Like moving his lips, and he's knocked out, He's zonked out. So right beneath him, though, is the original connection, the original sort of pathway, the tunnel that connects the different demon worlds. That's the original way of getting through the demon worlds. And then what we end up seeing here is Neva is the one who has the magical ability to break the seal. Now, before I go more into that, I want to tell you that Neba has always been this incredibly powerful magician. This dude is over 1,000,000 years old, maybe more than that. He's existed since forever. Now, based on the Dragon Ball Daima Raimus origin story we got a few episodes ago, it seems like the demonic Dragon Balls may have actually existed prior to the Super Dragon Balls. Now, that has not been confirmed yet because we don't know the exact date as to when the Super Dragon Balls and the Daima Dragon Balls existed. But with the Namekians being originally from the Demon Realm, you would assume that maybe it's there. But again, there's still... the dates have not been really aligned, and they're not going to mention Super Dragon Balls in Daima only because that's an introduction that happens later in the timeline in Dragon Ball Super. Specifically, the Universe 6 arc is when we first find out about these Super Dragon Balls between Universes 6 and 7. But Neba's always been a powerful magician, going all the way back to episode 1 when we saw him do something that we've never seen before from any god or elder, whether it be a Namekian or not, and that is he was able to use his magic to activate the Dragon Balls that were already, wishes were already used on them recently, which is the end of the Buu saga. That's when they use the wishes. But he's able to reactivate them using his magic to make a wish and kind of summon the dragon again. So here he's able to break the seal. Neba's a very powerful magician, and now the crew bringing him along, there's a purpose behind it. Not to mention that it's becoming more and more clear, and I've talked about this for weeks now, but I know that some people were theorizing that Neba's the secret villain, like the final boss. I don't believe he's evil at all. He's definitely a neutral party. Clearly, it seems like he was only going along with Goma so he can get an extended lifespan. I don't think he's actually part of Goma's crew. Like, it's not like Degasu who's loyal to Goma. No, it seems like Neba is more neutral and probably, leaning more toward the good side. His interactions with Piccolo kind of make me wonder if at some point, and this is just a theory, that if at some point maybe him interacting with Piccolo sort of reminds him there are other Namekians out there and sort of maybe makes him feel some things, and maybe someday Neba will leave the demon realm, come into planet Namek, whether it be Universe 6's version or Universe 7's version, and maybe reunite with the Namekians there. Because the dude talked about how he's kind of lonely there. He's the last Namekian left over in Demon World 2. So, you know what I mean? Like, I think if they're going to write this character and give him a little mini arc, that would be one that makes sense, where Piccolo kind of reminds him of his people and he wants to be around, his people, because he hasn't seen them in forever. Like, literally, like, forever. You know what I mean? The whole Demon Realm story and the Namekians leaving the Demon Realm along with the Kais and all that, the Glins, this happened millions of years ago. This was established. Like, this predates even some of the stuff as, like, really early in the timeline. Like, this predates, the Saiyan battle, like the Civil War on planet Vegeta. This predates all that stuff. So, the dude's been there a while. And so when he breaks the seal, they go through the tunnel, and there's like a lot of friction. And at this point, I was thinking like, oh no, we're gonna have more shit problems. I want to acknowledge something too. I've seen a lot of folks, and I talked about this on my stream Sunday. I've seen a lot, or Monday. It was Monday this past week. I saw a lot of people talking about how the ship breaking down is a reused plot point, which I agree. They did reuse it a lot. However, clearly Glorio is the one doing it on purpose. We know Glorio has been working with Dr. Arinsu, and clearly he's doing it to purposely stall to give her enough time to get the Dragon Ball. Now, if you remember in episode 13, Gloria was on the phone with her again, and now she knows that he's got 2 of the Dragon Balls, the ones from Tamagami 2 and 3, and that she's got the 1-star ball from Tamagami 1. So now that he knows that she successfully got the ball thanks to Majin Du and Majin Ku, there's no reason for the ship to break down. So they tease the ship breaking down again, but they end up just aborting the ship. They leave the ship and they end up sort of doing this this like skydive. I like this scene a lot. The whole crew, like, you know, Vegeta's carrying Bulma, like a princess. They're all sort of just skydiving down, and of course, in Demon World 1, the military police is there to greet them, and that's where we kind of leave the episode off. Now, again, I like this episode way more than the last one because the story progressed. We got a bit more lore about Neva and the way back, the history of the demon realm, but it didn't overtake the episode. There was one scene that I don't hate it at all. I think some people might be annoyed by it. I really didn't hate it at all, where the 5 special force guys, the fake Ginyu Force, whatever, they go to this like convenience store and Majin Ku and Majin Du are there and they meet each other. I thought it was pretty funny. It didn't take up that much time. It was sort of a little gag. It's something that you see even back in Dragon Ball Z. You know, you saw stuff like that. Because, you know, I like that because these are characters that are clearly not meant to be seriously taken, not meant to be the quote-unquote final bosses by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. So they're meeting up, and it's sort of, in a meta way, was like, yeah, these are the goofballs of the demon realm. You know, these are the not serious characters, whereas Dr. Arinsu and Marba are a lot more serious. Degasu as well. Goma right now doesn't seem to be so serious, even though in this episode he damn near has a meltdown when he realizes that Goku and the gang have made it to Demon World 1. So yes, things are progressing, things are happening, and now I'm really interested in next week's episode. We're gonna talk more about that, you know, probably on the stream this week as well as maybe in my breakdown, but we'll see. But I'm really looking forward to next week's episode because they're in Demon World 1 finally. They're in the red, and that's the most, I guess, hellish looking demon world. It's got the red with the lightning everywhere. You know, it looks like sort of some of the depictions of hell that we've seen. Not in the Dragon Ball world, more like in the Judeo-Christian Abrahamic version of hell. You know, brimstone and fire, and it just has that sort of dark red look, and they're there. So finally, you know, I kind of wish they would have got there last week, but at least they're there now. So it's full speed ahead now. With episode 14 being done, we got 6 more episodes to go. Do I wish that they had used their time wiser last week? Yes, but with 6 episodes to go, I'm starting to feel like maybe they can actually fit the final battle in these next 6 episodes. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go right into the final battle, but they're in Demon World 1, so I would assume, and I could be wrong about this, I haven't actually seen episode 15, we'll get some lore, because they always have to give us some tidbits of information, and then, of course, this sort of the different factions, Arinsu, Majin Ku, Majin Du, and then Degasu and Goma, and then Goku's group are all going to eventually meet up, and then we'll see where that story goes. That'll be the big sort of climax of Dragon Ball Daima. So there was a scene where Goku, after the fish won't wake up, he starts tapping on the seal in the tunnel, and then the seal like fires this like magic. It goes up the power pole, right? And it electrocutes him, and he's like, you know, that was kind of funny. It's not just regular electricity, it's magic electricity, and he's fried. It is magic based to prevent any mortals from going through, but like I said, Neva was able to open it. I'm going to go more into the Neva lore when we do our breakdown tomorrow here on the channel and go a little bit more into the backstory, because there's a lot of really interesting tidbits that I want to give you about the old military police and sort of how they evolved and where Toriyama got the idea from. Toriyama's a big like history nut in some ways. Like he's very like interested in World War One, World War Two, and so he borrows ideas from just everything, you know, everything that shaped him. Which, to be honest, George Lucas did the same thing with Star Wars. Other, you know, mangakas did it too. You know, great creators always borrow from their inspirations. So we'll be going over that in the breakdown. Overall, though, this was a thumbs in the middle leaning up episode, meaning I didn't love it as much as episode 12. It was better than episode 13. I enjoyed it, and I'm glad that we're finally in Demon World 1. Goku and the gang were getting blasted by the military police. So based on the next episode preview, we're going to find out more about Dabura and probably the third eye. We're going to get that flashback. I actually discussed this flashback on a stream. I forget if it was a few weeks ago or further back, but I know I talked about it, that it was coming, but I wasn't sure what episode it was in. So there's that, and Vegeta, Goku, Piccolo, and the rest are battling against the military police. So it's going to be total mayhem in Demon World 2. Next episode looks fire. So I want to let everybody know now, ahead of time, that if you are trying to avoid spoilers, like I said before, I won't be spoiling things like blatantly in my thumbnails, but I am going to be, if something big happens, I'll be switching the thumbnail hours into the episode so that it gives people, like hours later on after the episode airs, so it gives people enough time to watch it. If you're trying to avoid spoilers for whatever reason, I respect it, then I would suggest staying off of social media until you see the episode. You can always mute words and things like that, but chances are something will pop up. Not necessarily from me, but there's a lot of accounts that talk about Daima every single week and post screenshots and things go viral. So the best thing to do, just for your own, you know, if you're trying to, like, for your own security, is just wait till you get to see the episode, whether it be right when it drops on Crunchyroll or shortly after. And if you're one of the people that's been watching it on Netflix, they're a week behind. So I don't know what to tell you on that one. I would just try to figure out if you can use a VPN or something to get into Crunchyroll so you can watch it. But the other streaming services are always going to be behind Crunchyroll. So that's it. See you guys tomorrow for the breakdown. Take care.